about the West and the rest of us, white predators, black slavers, and the African elite. The West is accused of many crimes. And what is our first interaction with them? The slave trade. Slave trade, over 500-600 years ago, that dehumanized a very, very important portion of humanity, the black race. But we're not the only ones to have been enslaved in history. The British themselves have been enslaved also, if you go into history. So we tend to think that slavery is unique to the black race. It is not. But the difference about our own slavery was that it was transatlantic. It was transatlantic. And in that slave trade, 15% of all the slaves that were taken out of the Nigerian territory were from what we used to call the Bight of Biafra. That is the Bight of Bonny, and mainly Igbos throughout Chukwu. Many of those slaves ended up in the Caribbean. And they were slaves that were taken by the British slave traders. This was one of the first major contacts we had with the British. That is Ndigbo and the British. The other major contact, when slavery ended, and they had to find another way to continue to exploit the black race, was to shift from slavery to colonization. They couldn't come to take us anymore. They had to come to our land, conquer us, and take our raw materials to sustain the industry in the Western world. That was colonialism. And when they came to Igbo land in the late 19th century, there was a lot of resistance. Makana Ndigbo were a very strong spirit. So the Igbo resisted the British fiercely. And there were wars. The Arab War, 1902, 1903, going on into the Aba women's riots, and so on. There was very strong resistance. So the relationship between the Igbos and this country is very unique. During the colonial period, it was now translated into Igbos coming here to study and so on and so forth. The Yorubas had a long start before us. They started from the 1860s and the 1870s. But between 1910, 1920, and 1950, Ndigbo caught up and overtook. Such that the most powerful and influential intellectuals in Nigeria turned out to be Igbos. Heading that is the truth. From Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, who led and fired up the spirit of freedom in many African countries, and was a mentor to people like Kwame Nkrumah and others, and Jomo Kenyatta. So people like the Great Sea, who led the way. To people like Professor Kenneth Dike, who was the first African Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan for many, many years. A generation of Nigerian leaders were trained under Professor Dike. To people like Enin Joko, who also became Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos. Why am I giving these examples? Because, honestly, Asikene or Sondi, is it only the Igbos? Why will the Igbos come to our land and become the people who are the lords of the land? Ibadan, Kenneth Dike, Lagos, Enin Joko. How? And problems began. The reason I'm mentioning this is that from the first encounters, slavery, colonialism, and then migration for further education, the Igbo spirit was always indomitable. Nobody could suppress Ndigbo. Ndigbo are the people of the right. And I say, Oku Chukwu Chadoni Moko. Igbos are a light. They shine the light that others may find. So, from that background, we come to you here, all of us, and the phenomenon of globalization, which is as ancient as history, but we just found a new name for it. Globalization. And globalization has three elements. The first is technology, because it is technology that makes it possible for people to know what is going on in other parts of the world. That is how ideas are exchanged, whether it is radio, whether it is the airplane or the one-way, doesn't matter. It is all technology. And every empire that rose and every empire that fell in history, if you go and study, you will see that it was always technological superiority that led to the rise of empires, and technological overtake that led to the fall of some empires. So technology is a very important element of globalization. The other element is culture, and the third element is the diaspora. So diaspora is a powerful factor in human existence, and it has long been in history. So the diaspora is a very powerful element of globalization. But in globalization, there are drivers and there are passengers. They're not even there are drivers and there are passengers. So you're either a driver or you're a passenger, or perhaps you're a bus conductor. Where are we as a black race? Globalization. If you're not technologically advanced, then it means that the globalization we enjoy, the travel we do, the mobile phone that every woman and her aunt and every man and his uncle in Africa, the most densely mobile telephone continent in the world is Africa. But who's making the mobile phone? Who's manufacturing it? We are using it and we think we're cool. But it is the person who manufactured that is selling it that is making the money. So, globalization is not an accident. There is an intention behind globalization. And that intention is the intention to dominate. The people who came on the slave trade mission, they came to dominate. It was part of globalization. But that was globalization by force. Our ancestors were taken from their lands and taken to Jamestown in Virginia in 1620 something. Others were then subsequently taken to other parts of the New World, the so-called New World. Globalization has an agenda. We take it for granted. But if we do not understand it and our role in it, we will be the subject of the agenda, not part of it. That's right. Therefore, when we talk about the diaspora, the question arises, the secret of every rise, and this is what I have preached in Nigerian politics, as a United Nations diplomat, as a professor, as a central banker. There is one word that changes destiny, and that word is worldview. What is our worldview as Ndigbo? We are in the diaspora, but if we do not have a worldview, our being in diaspora in the United Kingdom will simply be an individual existence for each and every one of us. And that is the situation today. I'm bringing up the subject of the worldview to tell us our responsibility as a people to ourselves, our children, our generations to come, and our relatives at home. You, Ndigbo, in London, you have a big task. I envy you in your wonderful regalia. I wish I had my robe certificate of the name. It's right. our relationship with the world, our understanding of where we have come from, where we are going, and how we will get there. Yes. The strategy, the value system, the knowledge system. These are the components of the worldview. And every race and every people who are making progress have it. The Western world has a worldview. Worldviews are not objective things. They can be subjective. But if they are consistently applied, they become objective reality. That is the basis on which slavery was done, the transatlantic slave trade. Those Caucasians believed they were superior, and that the others that they were enslaving were inferior. And for several centuries, it was so. But what happened? Another worldview arose. The worldview of human rights, and attacked the previous worldview. A battle of ideas was fought ferociously, and eventually the slave masters began to retreat. And the human rights of the enslaved and all the others came to the fore, to be respected. Thus ended the slave trade. But they're very clever. The worldview was still there, so they came in a different way. You come to your land. Like Chinua Achebe, who was it that said, at first, they came with the Bible. They came with the Bible. We owned the land. By the time we left, by the time they left, we had the Bible, they had the Bible. That is not to say that Christianity is bad for me, but these are just, these are aspects of worldviews and how they lead nations to conquer others. And part of that worldview system is through diasporas. So, this way that the worldview has driven the Western world to conquer, another worldview began to arise in Asia. The Chinese said, who are these Westerners? We used to call them barbarians. We are the original civilization of over 5,000 years. How come? Because the Westerners developed superior technology. They fought the Opium War with China in 1839, conquered the Chinese and took Hong Kong, and appointed a British governor in Hong Kong. The Chinese never forgot the insult. And they said, we will get even. This is what led to the rise of China. Oh, you see, let us understand world history in this framework. And I'm coming somewhere. So, the rise of China, the Chinese now, and the Japanese, the Asians, their own worldview began to assert itself. Why does the West think they're so superior? We have our own medicine, we have acupuncture, their own knowledge system, and it works. There's acupuncture, there's classic Western medicine, there's African traditional medicine. Oh. There are different knowledge systems of medicine. It's all part of this concept of the worldview. So the Asians began to develop technology using their own unique worldview, which is as follows. The Asian communities are very community-oriented. Yeah. In the Asian worldview, the society is more important than the individual. Stability is an end in of itself. There must be stability. In China, it's only human rights. It's not there. They have their own system, and it has worked for them. The Westerners are individualistic. Yeah. Everybody is free. Land of the free, home of the brave. It has worked for them. Yeah. It is based on a system of human rights, individualism. It led to entrepreneurship. Worldviews matter. So, honest and being in the United Kingdom, what is our worldview? What do we believe? What is our mission here? I be London in Parliament. I be London in Buckingham Palace. No. I say our worldview should be as follows. We are equals. We have our history from the establishment of the Igbo kingdoms from Nri. We have a history that is glorious. We have the ability to trade and to invent. We are proud and always successful people. Poverty is not glorified in Igbo. This is us, the Igbos. Therefore, we have we are prepared mentally and psychologically to create wealth wherever we are, to be successful wherever we are. It brings us envy, yes, we know. We just have to manage it and not be arrogant about it. Let us not be too showy in our success, too brash in our success. Let us not try to make other people feel bad because we are always successful, because we work hard. Let us not call them lazy. Let us say, let us work together and show them the things that make the Igbo spirit indomitable. In the United Kingdom, so in the United Kingdom, therefore, I was very happy listening to Professor Joe's speech, where he was talking about Ohaneze, UK, as a company or as an institution that can receive, hold, and distribute funds. That is taking it to the next level. This is worldview thinking in action. So congratulations, Professor. All diasporas matter for a number of reasons. Diasporas matter because they have a societal and cultural impact. And this impact and integration with the society, the host society, can be very beneficial to everyone concerned. Our children are in schools in London and in the United Kingdom and Ireland. There are aspects of our culture and training from our families that they project into those societies. There are aspects of those societies they learn and bring back home. There is a mixture. And we think what's the best from everywhere. It favors everyone. That is the societal and cultural impact of integration on local communities. There are many, just from the gate. Are you here for the Igbo function? Igbo function. Say yes. Here for the Igbo function. They know about Igbos. This is a cultural event. If it were an open event, they would learn a lot. So, the societal and cultural impact is there. The economic impact on local communities is always there with diaspora. Many diasporans in this country have small shops. Many people drive taxis. It's part of the local economy. People walk and do business. But one dimension I want to begin to bring into the Igbo diaspora is that we need to begin to move from the idea of just more and more small business, our little trade, to the idea of the corporation that becomes permanent. Who has this kind of worldview? The Asians and the Indians. They are moving beyond the sports. They are moving into the ownership of corporations in this country. We, Ndigbo, must begin to do so. We have the means, we have the wealth to do it. It is not only investment that flows from here back home that we should be talking about. That is good. But we have people who have money than me who can come and set up big companies in the United Kingdom. That is the economic impact of diaspora. The Indians have it, the Chinese have it. Then you have the political impact of diaspora. The diaspora political influence. And that can shape the local policy of any country where you have a powerful group of diaspora. We have it in many countries. at the Israelis, the Jews, if you look at the Chinese, if you look at the Indians, you find out that it is not enough for them, especially for the Jews and the Indians. The Chinese tend to stick to the business side of things, but it's not enough for them only to be on the economic side. They get into the politics of the country. Yep. You must, because if you don't, you cannot ultimately influence policy.
Yeah.
That is why I'm proud of Chuka.
Yeah.
That is why I'm proud of Shiawura and several other Igbos who have been successful in the politics of the United Kingdom. The diaspora having political impact. We need more and more and more of this, because the higher we go, the more we are able to influence not just the local environment where we live as diaspora, but the official government policy towards our own planet. That is how it works. If you control the government or you have a dominant presence in it, you influence the policy towards Nigeria. You influence the policy towards the issues that affect us in Nigeria as Ndigbo. This is a very necessary task for Hanese Ndigbo. And one of those issues is the matter of the constitutional restructure of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is very, very important. It is very important. And British government has a lot of influence on the Nigerian government, whether we like it or not, whether we accept it or not. Yeah. Because Nigeria was created in a certain way by the British. And there was a worldview behind the design of Nigeria. Whether you know it or not, whether you agree or not. And the effects of that worldview, we're still feeling it today. So we need to fight this fight diplomatically, strategically, politically, to reverse this dysfunctional reality that we have in Nigeria. So, then of course there are the prospects of the diaspora to return home and rebuild the homeland. Again, I use the example of India. Non-resident Indians, NRIs, a very powerful and potent aspect of Indian policy. They influence decisions at home, they influence inside where they live. You have the Jews. How? What is America or Britain without the Jews? And their influence is felt in the policy of wherever they live towards Israel and the state of Israel. That is why the Jews are very powerful in American politics. That is why they are powerful in British politics. In every Western society, the Jewish influence is strong. It is because of the Jewish worldview in action through their diaspora. The scattering abroad and the bringing together of the remnants. All these things are biblical prophecies. Many of them have been fulfilled already. So, we, Ndigbo, also have a role to play. Back home, one of the biggest demonstrations of it is that it is not enough for us as diaspora to be successful where we live, whereas our homes, our home country is in disarray. And all we do is send home £200 every month, £300 every month. That diaspora remittance is survival money. Mm-hmm. It does not create the wealth of nations. Mm-hmm. So, but the only way the country itself can begin to generate the wealth of that nation is that the right people are in control politically. It raises the question, who does Hanese Ndigbo in UK or Ireland support the president of Nigeria? So this is it. It raises that question. What is your participation in politics? Among us as Ndigbo, who do we support politically? What is the lens through which we assess candidates? Do we clap for them simply because they have been traditional politicians for many years? That is why they have been governors, they have been senators. So they are the people who should be president. What is their track record? We ask ourselves. What is their intellectual level? What is their level of exposure? What is their vision? What is their worldview? Because we have had this exposure, we should bring it back into our own participation in the politics of the homeland. We should encourage Ndigbo to hold Igbo politicians accountable. For our politicians to know that there will be a consequence for them to go to Abuja and only be looking out for themselves. We should encourage Igbos to bring up intellectuals with good track records and not look down on them because they are not billionaires who buy votes. We have to bring back the standard that we have seen that works and has created power and wealth in the Western countries. We must bring it back to the land. There was a time that it was so. When the people who Ndigbo were didn't have their ways, the Amayoparas, the Chukwuemeka, the Mebujukus, the intellectuals reigned. It was once so. Today, none of us. The only people who talk are the ones who say 419ers, political groups, political second class and citizens and jobbers.
Delegates, yeah.
That is one of the things, even though I have said I am not an ethnic candidate, or I've never been an ethnic aspirant for the presidency of Nigeria, but I'm a proud Igbo man. But I know that you cannot become president only on the votes of Igbos. After spending 17 years in the United Nations, I have helped rebuild broken nations. That's right. Like Croatia, like Cambodia, like Rwanda after the genocide. So I say, if I could do it outside, I can do it in Nigeria. We must be the ones to inform our people. If you're talking about the presidency, what are the functions of the president? There are 4 things: nation building, national security, the national economy, foreign affairs. Okay, for any of these 4 things. Everything else is addition. How many Nigerian politicians have experience or knowledge of these 4 things?
No.
This is why, this is why we keep getting the wrong leadership in Nigeria. Because we keep selecting the wrong people based on the wrong factors. You see, as we assess, so we act. And as we act, we create reality. If somebody does not understand